I'm Tony Scott with bnetTv. We are here at the LTE Asia Summit in Singapore for 2012, and I am speaking with Openwave's Mr. Rodgers. How are you today, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you, Tony. Having a good show.
Yep.
Enjoying, yeah, there's been some very good networking, very good dialogue with operators, customers, so yeah, very happy overall.
So, you know, Michael, one of the things that is fantastic about LTE in general is that the onset of this particular style of technology is at the forefront of driving the majority of the ecosystem. And APAC is just so great because the deployments within the region are accepted quite highly by the consumers and the enterprise arena. So that being said, why don't you give us a brief overview of Openwave and where you fit within this ecosystem?
Sure. So Openwave Mobility, we basically are a software vendor. We sell to mobile operators. We focus really in the application space. We look at two areas in particular. We look at data optimization, so how we can help operators have better cost control over the growth in data traffic and provide a better user experience in areas of congestion, which is very typical in today's networks. And equally, we have a product around a policy product, I guess, around which focuses on mobile data charging and how we can actually help operators monetize more effectively and roll out more innovative data pricing models.
Well, there is nothing better than music to the ears of the operators when it comes to enhancing the ability to charge for mobile data usage in a roaming capacity. So what is your solution and what differentiates that from others in the market space?
Well, I guess first of all, we need to look at some of the challenges that we see in this area. And if I look at mobile data charging today, I don't think it's working. I think it's too complicated. I think users have some issues in understanding it. They don't get it. They don't understand megabytes, gigabyte type concepts. And I think they're not encouraged enough to spend. And I think there's a lot of lost opportunity in the area of mobile data charging. So I'm
going to interrupt for just 1 second, and I want you to sort of explain a little bit on who's to blame a little bit more for that. Is it the operators, or is it really the consumer? From my perspective, if you asked me, I'm a little upset at my operator, right? Why when I have a data-centric phone, I have an iPhone. It's a fantastic phone, and when I turn it on in a roaming capacity, I got a little message that pops up and says, hey, you know what, you're going to be charged $15 a meg. And I'm like, so my email headers are bigger than that.
Yeah, I think there's there's a responsibility on the consumer and on the operator, but I think the operator could be much more proactive in informing the user in a language that they understand. And I think that's where one of the problem areas are. There is some notification happening in like scenarios that you've just described, like roaming, but the way that it's presented is actually disencouraging the user to use mobile data from roaming rather than encouraging, hence one example of a lost opportunity. If, for example, in a roaming scenario, I was offered the option in real time to purchase a pass which is based on time, then I would be more incentivized to actually buy that plan. What happens today is the user by default typically turns off the data when they're roaming, so it's not a good experience for the end user, it's not a good opportunity for the operator.
So well said, there's a huge lost opportunity there.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we're trying to address is how can we work with the operator to look at new ways of rolling out more innovative data pricing models. Look at concepts like service-oriented pricing, application-oriented pricing, rather than relying on the traditional vectors, which have been sort of megabytes bandwidth type models. Because I think there is a consensus that those are not really effectively working. And I can understand why they're being used because it's a sort of a way of easily managing the surge in data growth. It's a way of controlling that surge in data growth. So by tiering based on those vectors, it gives the operator more control. It gives them an opportunity to monetize. But I think there's it doesn't go as far as it needs to go. And so we want to look at new models.
So tell me a little bit of some of those things that you're showing here at this conference.
So what we're looking, I guess, focusing on is two aspects. One is, so how can we actually, what are these new models? So I alluded to service-oriented, application-oriented pricing. So for example, rather than sort of selling just a bucket of megabytes to the user, why don't you offer the user maybe a lower cost base plan, which might be megabytes based, but maybe have certain service restrictions on that. So you might get 30 minutes of video for free. After that, you need to pay for it on a pay-as-you-go basis. Give the user the option, when they run out of their allowance or limit, to proactively buy that video allowance. So selling video by the hour. And we've seen evidence, operators who are using this service today and are being very successful in the role of these type of models. So I think there's clearly a market demand for this, and really we need to encourage more operators to look beyond some of the traditional vectors of data pricing. The other aspect, I guess, that we focus a lot on is more effective end user engagement. So, and what I mean by that is looking at the environment the user is in. So if the user is browsing, how can I engage the user most effectively in that environment? If the user is using an application, how can I effectively engage them there? If the device is not capable, say, of receiving SMS, can I send them a push notification using the Apple push notification server? So you need to look at the context of what the user is in at that time and engage them in the most effective manner. And the other aspect, I guess, is that engagement needs to be two-way. So rather than just telling the user, for example, you're going to incur charges because you are roaming or you have exceeded your data allowance, inform them clearly, but also give them the option to purchase more. And if that's done in the right manner, the user is going to be more incentivized to do that purchase, and it's going to lead to a better user experience and another monetization opportunity.
These particular mobile charging plans that you're helping the operators with, are these in the market space right now? The stuff that you've actually rolled out, is there usage case for it?
Yes, the example I just showed you, right, video on demand, basically offering users the option to buy video by the hour. We have that in live service right now, and the uptake has been tremendous. And it really, again, it's a model where a user is basically possibly given an option to buy a lower cost data plan, which has some restrictions, and then purchase services like video, or it could be tethering, or it could be roaming on a pay-as-you-go basis. And if you look at it, one of the things, the trends that we picked up in the wider market is that there's an appetite for sort of the micro purchase economy. Users are today more, I guess, conscious of their data spend. And if we look at the wider sphere outside of operator mobile data and look at the success of Apple with their purchase of songs in iTunes, purchase per app, purchase in-app purchases, they're all micro payments that users pay for when they want at that appropriate time. So there's no reason why that type of model cannot be applied in mobile data. So you basically have the more of an add-on approach than users signing up to a long-term contract, which is 24 months long, and they have no way of changing that in the course of that contract.
Is this something that is more attuned or accepted, if you will, in certain geographies?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think certainly in the emerging markets, you need to look at there's in some markets in Asia here, there's a real conscious. Users are very conscious of their data spend. So this idea of being able to buy small amounts frequently is probably likely to be more successful in that type of market than maybe in a developed market. So you do for sure have to look at the actual market that you're serving to see if that model will work or not.
And so finally, Michael, what are we going to see further from Openwave here in the future?
I think we're going to push this particular solution further. We feel that we've got something innovative to offer in this area. We're looking at how we can complement existing policy and charging solutions to try and, I guess, overcome some of the shortfalls that operators have with their existing investments. So, focusing on service-oriented pricing, focusing on better user engagement models to clearly help them monetize more in mobile data. Clearly, another area that I didn't really touch on, which I think is equally important, is not only looking just at the consumer as the customer, the end consumer, but also looking at how they can actually develop new business models with the wider OTT. Sponsored data access, for example, or premium access, where you are guaranteed a certain bandwidth when you're going to a certain content type for a premium. So those type of two-sided business models that we hear a lot of is an area that we would also be exploring going forward.
I'm looking forward to our next conversation when we can expand a little bit more on the sponsored data OTT arena. I think that is a fantastic topic of conversation, and is worth exploring.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I hope when we meet next year we'll be able to talk more about that with some more evidence of where we have it working in the market.
Michael, thanks very much for taking the opportunity to speak with us. Can't wait for our update again in the future.
Thank you very much. Bye.
I've been speaking with Openwave's Mr. Michael Rodgers here at the LTE Asia Summit in Singapore for 2012, and I am Tony Sklar with bnetTv.